Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over Japan, and how it'll impact our one. Today, I'm going to be talking about Ace Specs and what's the best one to play in your deck for post-rotation. I'm going to break down the City League Championships happening this past weekend and kind of talk about what are the players actually using as a one of Ace Spec of choice. Are they opting with Prime Catch for that gusting effect, which a lot of people thought was going to be the strongest Ace Spec of the game? Or are they opting to have like a maximum belt, still that additional 50 more damage? We are definitely seeing a split, and I'm going to break down pretty much all six Ace Specs. I believe it's 6 or 7 we've had revealed, and kind of talk about exactly their relevancy in every single archetype, which we're going to show. We're also going to break down the meta percentage-wise of the top 16, has Charizard been dethroned, and also a little bit of prediction about where I believe the City League Championship is going to go, which is happening this weekend, which is an absolute must if you're really interested in post-rotation and EUIC testing. So if we break down the top 16 meta percentage, we can see that Charizard is still on top, 27%. People absolutely are adoring playing Charizard. It didn't lose that much, and it's incredibly powerful. It uses pretty much nearly every single Ace Spec under the sun I've seen it have. A lot of people are focusing more on the Prime Catcher this weekend, which is a bit of a change because we've seen a lot more of them using like the Maximum Belt. I really like the Maximum Belt, especially in the mirror match, because it means that your opponent can take maybe 4 prizes before you can even get these big one-hit KOs on the opposing Charizard. We've also seen the Cape be a really, really powerful inclusion for Charizard. Again, really helps in mirror match because having 430 HP is very, very difficult for some decks to get big one-hit KOs. Chi Power snuck up there at 10.5%. Chi Power is very, very powerful and kind of has guaranteed will be playing Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher is pretty much cross switcher, which already played. It's a really good gusting effect and searchable with Irida. Lugia, we've seen here be 10.1%. We've seen a resurgence of Lugia just because it has such a strong single prize attacking option. Having a Minccino is super, super powerful. 70 times the amount of special energies you have attached to it. It's really, really good. You can attach 5 special energies, which can deal huge, huge amount of damage. It kind of has helped a friend of a Master Ball. Master Ball is definitely the Ace Spec of choice for Lugia Archeops because it's a guaranteed way to get any of your Pokemon you might want to have. And it's kind of very difficult when you lose Professor Barnett. Just kind of like get your Archeopses in the discard pile. We've seen Arctina get down a little bit lower to 9.4%. This is very, very powerful because that's a really, really strong Charizard matchup. It has Giratina, which now can play Maximum Belt to deal 330 HP, stamina, sorry, which is really, really powerful, as well as also Iron Leaf. So you have 2 ways to get a big one-hit KO on Charizard. They're mainly just focusing on Maximum Belt. I haven't seen with an additional kind of like an additional sort of Ace Spec, but honestly, Maximum Belt just makes so much more sense in this one. Plus, Arceus can now do 230 hit damage, or even do 210, which can help a lot more in certain matchups. We've seen Rory Moon still have a little bit of love, but it's a little bit above the Ancient box. Rory Moon definitely focuses a lot more on the Prime Catcher, purely because it wants to be that fast, aggressive deck, and kind of like wants to have some Pokemon set up on the bench. It's a little bit slower than the current Rory Moon that we now know and love, with know of the Moltres to help get some energy acceleration, but it's still very, very strong. Ancient Box, however, is kind of having a bit of a soft spot to me. I really, really enjoy this deck, a single price attacking deck, focusing a bit on the Cryo on the early game, and then switching to the Rory Moon single prize attacking option is really, really strong. Even opting to play Rory Moon EX is a very, very good secondary attacking option. They definitely focus in on the Awakening Drums, but also I've seen Prime Catcher be played in them. Lost Box is definitely a Prime Catcher sort of deck. You want to be using that because that works for synergies with Comfy, works well with like Pokemon set up on the bench, so kind of like that's like a no-brainer. Same thing with Golden Go. Golden Go is a deck which is definitely having a lot of love. It's doing incredibly well. You can see a lot of these decks which are doing stronger right now are ones that really help, kind of limited by Path to Peak and any ability lock. So having Golden Go be 4.2% definitely is a little bit more easier for the archetype to work around. And Gardevoir even at that 3.1. Gardevoir's getting a little bit of love, and definitely it still doesn't know where it wants to go for its Ace Spec. I've seen Master Ball be played, I've seen Prime Catcher, I've seen even the Cape be played, so it's still trying to like find its feet to be exactly what it wants to do. So I hope it gives a little bit of a rundown, a little bit of an insight about why each certain decks play it. So let's actually see what the top 6 archetypes of this weekend. And to no surprise, Charizard and Xianpao are still up there at the 1st and 2nd place. But you can see from 2nd to 6th, all of them have 3 wins. So you can see here that it's very, very much split around and even between 2 to 6. But number 1, you can see by a long shot, it is Charizard. It is very, very strong, very, very powerful, and kind of like definitely is the BDIF of the format, like we talked about last week. Xianpao has got a pretty good matchup-wise overall, has a really good Charizard matchup. We look at the rest of the metagame. If we see Cinccino, which has, I think that has 90 HP, so it can easily get 1 KO by some Moonlight Shuriken. We see Golden Go as well, which helps in that matchup as well. So honestly, I do think that Sheehan Power is really well placed. Lugia and Arctina kind of switch places, which is a bit of an interesting thing. Maybe a lot of people didn't really respect Arctina, not really going to play it one, hence why Charizard doing so well. And Lugia, a lot of people definitely didn't expect it. It is a deck which has been on the rise completely, and I actually weirdly like this Lugia. I know Lugias have a ton of new iterations since its absolutely dominant thing from this time last year, but I think this version of Lugia actually has contention to be a very, very strong version. Has a really good single price attacking option. You are a little bit slow by them pretty much having a stage 1, but Lugia V-Star is already a stage 1, so it is a really interesting archetype in general. Golden Go is very, very strong. I think people are focusing a lot more on the Palkia version. That's much stronger than the likes of the Basculegion or the Scizor version, which I did see some success, I'm not going to lie, but I think the Palkia one is a lot more reliable, has really good synergy, especially in the Charizard and Sheer Power matchup, by getting a Greninja out very, very early on, because some of these times they might not even be playing their mana feed, they might not respect it, and that Greninja can come out very, very easily. This is that Lost Zone, I'm sorry, saying Lost Zone box, the ancient box which I was talking about, which actually did pretty well. You can see here, especially in the top 4 and top 8 placements. It's very strong, 70 plus 10 for each card you have in the discard pile. Just works really, really well in your synergy, especially with Koraidon. You can have like even a Koraidon EX, the really strong attacking option in the late game, or just Roman EX, get some one-hit KO on anything, which is a very, very good inclusion. And obviously we talk about Arctina. So I hope this gives a little bit of a good insight about what the top 6 decks are. I do think, especially if you are testing post-rotation, all 6 of these decks have definitely merit to test against. I think definitely Lugia is going to be up on the rise and do pretty well, because a lot of people do love playing Lugia, especially over in our metagame, and Arctina, again, has a lot of sweet spot for a lot of people. Having no path to peak kind of makes these ability-focused decks, as rulebooks we can see here, they are the top 4 archetypes, a lot stronger, purely because they don't have that disruption capability. I am hoping we might see that kind of happen in our June or July set, and we hopefully will get some reveals next weekend for the next Pokemon set. So definitely something to be considerate and think about. So let's look at some archetypes as well, and also talk about why this Ace Spec is a really good inclusion. So what better place to start off by looking at Prime Catcher. This is a Charizard here, which kind of like works really well with it. It does play that Mist Energy, which I think really works well in the Roaring Moon matchup, especially in the early match. They're trying to make sure that Roaring Moon doesn't get an instant KO on Charizard, even in the Lost Tina build, so they can't Lost Impact you. And the rest of it is just very, very straightforward. They even are opting to play Mew EX, because we do say goodbye to this the Musa from Celebration, so it's a good sort of inclusion to draw 3. Some decks are playing the Bibarel, but the Bibarel package, I'm going to talk to you a little bit, plays a different Ace Spec of choice, kind of like most sort of focus on it one. We are still playing a little bit of a heavy Arvin and Iona account for that disruptive capability, still playing the Switch because I think you need it. You do have a really bad Block Lax matchup, and Stall is still doing really, really well, even if there is a different counterpart at the likes of Great Tusk. So definitely in this Charizard build here, I think the Pity one, Prime Catcher or Maxim Belt is definitely going to be your Ace Spec of choice. Sheehan Power, like I mentioned, is definitely focusing purely on Prime Catcher. It works really well with Canceling Clone, works well with Irida, works well with Pokestop. It's so synergized with this deck. We're also seeing the inclusion more of the Crown Zenith Kyogre, which has definitely seen a huge uptick in play in Sheehan Power. Doing 180 damage snipe to anything is really strong. If we look at it, we see Lumineon, we see Squawkabilly, and we see Mew EX. Very, very strong setup cards, which are kind of like become a lot more staple. Yes, you can't KO Rotom, but if you can use a single prize Pokemon to do 180 damage snipe, it's really, really strong. Or you can even set up with an Iron Hands knockout for the next turn. This is just a very, very strong build. I think Prime Catch just works really well, especially after Sheehan Power 1. Sheehan Power, the Dortmund Regionals, is definitely going to be on people's radar. Raging Bolt actually got a win. So people who are like saying, oh, it's just a meme. And yes, I know it is a City League equivalent of a League Cup, but it did get a win with Prime Catcher. So this is definitely something to consider about. It's not playing the Awakened Drums. It is playing the Prime Catcher. If you look at the list here, it's still definitely a starter box material by having the Sandy Socks, by having the Koraidon as other sort of backup attacking option, and the Sandy Socks to help power up the attacks of your Raging Bolt. But definitely something to consider about if you are wanting to play Raging Bolt. We do see Prime Catcher in this list here, so definitely something to be considerate about. Kind of like these are a little bit quicker. Golden Go as well. Like I mentioned, going to the Palkia and even plays the Cross Switcher. What I really like about having Cross Switcher, sorry, not Cross Switcher, Prime Catcher, is it's like Cross Switcher. So you can play the Canceling Clone. You can search them out from Irida. You can use the likes of your the Cypher's decode, and you can like search them, pop them on top of your deck, and even discard them with Pokestop, or even draw into them with Greninja or Golden Go itself. I think Golden Go is actually doing very, very well. We can see even it got second place in Dortmund, so we are seeing that Golden Go, the love, kind of like go to our sort of format as well. We've seen Golden Go do really, really well in Japan the last couple of weeks, so I do like Golden Go. Its position right now in the meta game, especially in the top 6. So something to consider about, and I do think Prime Catcher is the best Ace Spec to play for this archetype. And final, last one I want to talk about with Prime Catcher is a Lost Zone box. You could even include Lost Tina as well. I just think it works very, very well, especially with the likes of Comfy. It's pretty much your Jet Energy. It's pretty much a good gusting effect as well. It's just really, really strong. You can see here that they are still playing the Paradox version, having the Roy Moon, having the Iron Hands. I just think are really good inclusion. Iron Hands to get additional prize card. If we see Charizard and Xianpao, even the likes of Golden Go, and even the likes of Lugia is doing really, really well, gains additional turning the single prizes into double prizes is just super, super powerful. And Roy Moon just KO anything. This is a very, very different archetype where we're seeing Lost Zone kind of like evolve into. Sometimes we are seeing the Ditto be played, but having the 4 copies of Nestball kind of like eliminates that threat potentially. And it is going a little bit slower, but Battle VIP Pass doesn't work as strong as it once was. Now let's look at Ancient Box, the deck that does play the Drum of Awakening. This plays a ton of other attacking options here. We can see it does play the Roy Moon EX, does play the Koraidon, and even the Sliver Ring. I really like the Sliver Ring because it's 130 damage, and then obviously it does 90 damage to itself, but you can kind of like nullify the pain a little bit with Ancient Booster Capture Energy. It works well with Artisan. You have a ton of really good ways around it. You play just so many Ancient cards, and I just think it works really, really well. You are a little bit limited with how much Roy Moon could really actually do the basic one, but having Koraidon as a good attacking option as well, having Fluttermane for, I guess, a gusting effect to do some damage snipe, so it's also Roy Moon to get a big one-hit KO. It just works really, really well, and I think it's a very, very strong single prize archetype, which could in fact be a threat to the metagame going forward. Lugia is a prime example about why Master Ball is super good. And actually, we can see here that Minccino has 110 HP, so please disregard any talk I did have about Greninja can snipe it, but it can snipe Chinchinos. So Master Ball is a really good inclusion because we can see here that Lugia always focuses a ton on all their, it's just Pokemon Search is their item card of choice. Collapse Stadium and Morty does work for them discarding the effect of some cards as well. Just to get rid of like your Luminion. But I think this is a really interesting build here. Charizard I really like as a really good powerful attacking option in the late game as well. Pretty much can use that Luminous Energy attached to it. Minccino is a really good attacking option, and honestly, I think it's a very, very strong version of Lugia, and definitely could be a threat, and could even get top 16 at the Champions League this weekend. Just Master Ball works super, super well in the archetype. Another deck which actually surprised me while playing Master Ball was Gardevoir, but it also makes a ton of sense. Gardevoir is still trying to find itself. It isn't kind of like doing very well. It's getting at least one win, I would say, per weekend, but again, it lost so many cards. It lost the Mirage Step Curlier. It lost the Sign Arcana Gardevoir. Those are and lost even Fog Crystal. It lost some of its really, really key archetypes. And so it's still trying to find itself by playing certain like disruptive Pokemon support, having a Mimikyu, having a Fluttermane, these disruptive abilities really can help slow down your opponent, and also having good sort of attacking options like of that Drifloon. But it is playing the Bravery Cape and the Luxurious Cape as well. Bravery Charm and Luxurious Cape, which can work really, really well. Even can help in the Charizard matchup by playing the Devolution TM. A very, very interesting inclusion. Do you think this is the best way to play Gardevoir? Do you think the Cape will be a better inclusion than Master Ball? But definitely something to be considered about as well. It's good to see Master Ball actually have a little bit more love outside of just Lugia. Arctina is definitely the biggest prevalent with that maximum belt. Like I mentioned before, you can use Giratina V-Star to use Lost Impact to get 200 to 330 damage, pretty much KOing any of the Charizards in play. And you have Iron Leaves as well to kind of like get an extra KO that way. You aren't going to be streamlining your Iron Leaves, but kind of like having these two big threats as well on a on 2 Charizards, and you can use an Arceus to KO the likes of a Rotom if it's got pure energies attached to it. So you do have a good prize map in that way. Shining Gardevoir to reduce some damage from Vs can really help against a mirror match as well. So likes of Giratina V-Stars can't KO Giratina V-Stars back. All right. The only thing I don't like about Arctina right now is a stadium card of choice. Having the Team Leader Headquarters and Lost City are good ones, but not having a path to the peak, it's just not as strong as well. So still heavy disruptor with high counts of Judge and Iono, but it definitely is a threat right now, especially against the likes of Charizard. I kind of want to finish off by looking at Cape. So speaking of Charizard, here it is right here with Bibarel. We are seeing a slow approach of Charizard playing the likes of the Evolution TM, which kind of we did see kind of starting a little bit in the Paradox format and kind of like then shifted over to the Pidgeot build. But right now we have a very good split of kind of like evenness between the Pidgeot build and the Bibarel build. Bibarel build is really good, especially for helps you with that draw factor, helps you against Iono, and you can be heavy Arven into it. And having the cape really helps in the mirror match. Chucking this on a Charizard, having, like I said, having 430 HP, nothing can really easy big one-hit KO it back. I do like the split of the Charmanders and Charmeleons as well. I do still love Radiant Charizard. There's a lot of things I love about this archetype. I think it could be a good way to play Charizard. I think the cape is a really good inclusion. Definitely could give you the edge in that mirror match. You can definitely vary about it. We've seen here Charizard play 3 different types of Ace Specs. So definitely go think about that. If you are testing Charizard, which one are you going to focus on? Do you want to do more damage? Do you want to have that gusting effect? Or kind of like have more HP to really help you in that sort of sticky situations? Stall as well, like I mentioned before, is doing pretty well as well, gaining a couple wins this weekend. I do like the Mantike as well because it really works with that block-like synergy. Kind of like both players put a Pokemon from their discard pile onto their bench. This can work especially against if they get rid of like a Manatee or get rid of a Greninja, get rid of some like Pokemon they don't really want to have in the active spot, kind of like discard it. You can use that Mantike to bring it straight back on there and use a counter catcher the next time to kind of put it back in the active spot and making sure you kind of deck out your opponent. The Chi-Yu with a good discard, in fact, the Pidgeot you never deck out, and it does play that cape as well. Kind of having Snorlax that have 250 HP with not making it a 2-price Pokemon is just really, really strong. Heck, you can even chuck this on a Rotom or a Pidgeot and they have a ton of HP. Imagine trying to get through a Mimikyu with 170 HP or a Chi-Yu with 290. There is definitely a good little inclusion with the cape. Definitely something to be considered about if you are playing a stall player. I think this cape is a must if you are wanting to be testing that at all. So kind of looking ahead, will more decks favor Prime Catcher? We've definitely seen this weekend that a lot of people are shifting their gaze towards Prime Catcher. That's not a bad thing at all. I think Prime Catcher is an incredibly good card. It works really, really well in a ton of different decks. But will it actually change a little bit more? Can anything stop the rule of Zard? Charizard did incredibly well pretty much ever since it's been released in post-rotation. It didn't lose anything. In fact, it kind of gained a more favorable matchup by kind of like having a Buddy Puffin to use anytime and no paths to the peak. Just make Charizard absolutely unstoppable and definitely will do really, really well in the Champions League. I do think the meta will change a little bit. I think we are going to see a ton of Charizard, Xianpao, Lugia, and the likes of Goldinger. I think those are going to do really, really well. Some decks that might surprise us will be, I think Lostina could do really well because it is in Japan, they love Lostina. Miraidon as well. Miraidon has won a ton of Champions League, but losing your flapping is just kind of like it lost its bit of synergy. It's again like Gardevoir trying to find itself. I do think don't rule out Ancient Box. I think Ancient Box is an incredibly good card and an incredibly strong archetype. So hope you guys have enjoyed this deck. This video. It's a little bit different by focusing a lot more on Prime Catchers, and Ace Specs because I kind of want to focus a little bit on that one because whilst you are testing for post-rotation, you're going to be thinking a little bit more. Ace Specs has not been something which people have been thinking about since the black and white days. So I do like that we are seeing it returning and there is a huge discussion. There's not just like one guaranteed good one like there was when there was a computer search and dowsing machine. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll be back next week probably to talk and coverage about the Champions League, which I'm super, super excited for. See you guys then. Bye for now.